Brazil, home to the Miss Bum Bum pageant, that fancy nut that doesn't taste like anything, and the wax your girlfriend got when Derrick came back from his Euro trip. I never trusted that, Derrick. But Brazil is also home to President Dilma Rousseff, who has had her powers suspended while she faces a Senate impeachment trial over allegations that she used money from public banks to cover budget shortfalls. Never mind the fact that moving money in this way is not obviously a crime.
Taking from one pocket and putting into another. Maybe it's a misdeed of some kind, but certainly doesn't justify impeachment.
Or that it is fairly commonplace in Brazilian government.
Other presidents have done that in the past. So President Dilma Rousseff is asking, why am I being singled out?
Or even that her accusers are themselves facing far more serious charges. Brazil is experiencing massive protests against Rousseff. So perhaps we should believe exactly what Brazil's media elites and most Western mainstream media outlets are reporting. That Brazil's Congress, backed by the people, has rightfully suspended the powers of an unpopular president on totally legitimate charges. Or perhaps we should ask what you asked your girlfriend when you found her in bed with Derrick. Is this not what it looks like?
Even the New York Times pointed out that Dilma Rousseff is maybe the one politician who hasn't stolen in order to benefit herself.
In Brazil, political corruption is almost as common as breast implants. Out of the 594 members of Brazil's Congress, 352 are currently under investigation on corruption charges. In fact, Dilma Rousseff's principal accuser and political rival, Eduardo Cunha, was just recently accused of receiving a $15 million bribe.
Some people can't handle success. I can.
In fact, corruption is one of the clear reasons why more than 60% of Brazilians support Rousseff's impeachment. In 2013, it was discovered that executives of Brazil's massive public oil company, Petrobras, had embezzled $5.3 billion, making it the largest corruption scandal in the history of modern democracy.
And although, unlike other senior politicians and business leaders, she has not been directly implicated in the scandal, it has weakened her authority and that of her government.
Although Rousseff was actually the chair of Petrobras during the scandal, she's been cleared of any wrongdoing. Her rival Eduardo Cunha, on the other hand, is still under investigation on Petrobras-related charges. But ironically, he has used the scandal to stoke up anger against Rousseff, and she has received most of the blame. Perhaps this is because Brazil's media is owned and controlled by principally white, wealthy citizens who hate Rousseff and her left-leaning party, PT. As Glenn Greenwald explains in The Intercept, recall the key role Fox News played in promoting and encouraging attendance at the early Tea Party protests. Now imagine what those protests would have been if it had not been just Fox, but also ABC, NBC, CBS, Time Magazine, the New York Times, and the Huffington Post also supporting and inciting the Tea Party rallies. That is what has been happening in Brazil. The largest outlets are owned and controlled by a tiny number of plutocratic families, virtually all of whom are vehement, class-based opponents of PT, and whose media outlets have unified to fuel these protests. And the consequences of Rousseff's impeachment hearings are already being felt. The interim president, Michael Temer, who, by the way, is barred from running for a second term because of, you guessed it, corruption charges, has already reversed a number of Rousseff's populist policies.
He's from the centre-right PMDB party, seen as more business-friendly, able to make political deals.
Rousseff had created conservation land, recognized indigenous land claims, and protected territories inhabited by the descendants of runaway slaves. All of these decrees are now under review and are likely to be revoked. 4,000 government jobs have already been cut. Government assets, including the post office, airports, and utilities, are likely to be sold off. And healthcare and anti-poverty programs will likely be reduced, even while Brazil struggles with the Zika virus. Perhaps even more troubling, the newly appointed agricultural minister is a super-rich soybean magnate, and he is currently pushing legislation to soften the legal definition of slavery.
We have the one leading politician who hasn't stolen to enrich herself, who's being impeached by a gang of thieves.
It looks to me like the elites in Brazil, the owners and controllers of the economy and media, have seized control of the government so that they can use it to benefit themselves. This looks like the rich and powerful conspiring against the poor and vulnerable. This looks like a coup.